This is Titletown Sound.
If Joe Flacco is worth a fourth-round pick, Antonio Brown might be worth a negative fifth-round pick.
Again, I'm just a fat dude sitting on the couch. But, I watch a lot of football.
I'm here to kick ass and make steaks, and I'm all out of steaks.
Year one, he was like, all right, guys, I don't know what Dom taught you, but you need to have 11 guys on the field.
A trained orangutan could have done a better job than Ron Zerks. I mean, not even well trained.
Welcome, Packers fans, to episode 222 of the Titletown Sound podcast. This is the podcast for fans of the Green Bay Packers and fans of the Dewey Decimal System. I know there are dozens of you out there, and we just lost James, who I was about to introduce. He somehow disappeared, but I do have Kevin here, and if you're a fan of the Dewey Decimal System and you're looking for Kevin, you might want to search in section 905. You see, Kevin likes honeycombs, and that's where you would find serial publications. Kevin, how you doing?
Honeycomb, me like honeycomb. Right? Wasn't that the honeycomb?
I feel like that
something like that. Yeah.
I feel like it might be a little racist.
Of that honeycomb.
Right.
And now if you're looking for my other co-host, that's James Corsmo, who is back here. If you're looking for my other co-host, you might find him in section 733, where you would find Greek gods.
Ooh.
James, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm Thorolopolis is what I am. I think I just confused a whole bunch of different things. I'm tired, but I'm good, gentlemen. I'm good to see you.
And for the record, though yesterday was Dewey Decimal System Day, the Dewey Decimal System sucks. And Library of Congress all the way. If you have a preference, let us know in the chat. And if you do have a preference, you might want to see somebody, because the strange thing. I mean, I have a preference, so I really can't speak, but I don't know. All right, guys, the Packers won.
They did. They did?
The Packers won at home.
No.
You might not know it based on some of the reactions that fans, especially those on Twitter, had. But let's talk about this game. The Packers beat the Washington Daniel Snyders by a score of, what was it, final score, 20-15.
Barn burner.
Not a dominant win, not a great performance. But James,
yes,
I'm sick of seeing people treating wins as if they're losses. And I'm sick of people suddenly having expectations that this Packers team is an elite team.
So this is something I've been saving this for tonight. It's currently Wednesday night. So we're 4 days roughly past the game. I've been angry with all of my friends and family. I haven't been nice to them because I've just been holding this inside. I'm like John Coffey in the Green Mile. Spoiler alert at the very end, where he takes the badness out of the one guy and he saves it for the other bad guy. That's kind of what I feel like. The Dan Snyders are not a terrible defensive team. They beat the 49ers, or they lost to the 49ers 9-0. Now, that was in the middle of a tropical monsoon, but it's still a thing that happened. They only lost to the Vikings. I think it was a similar score, like 20-14. So I don't want to hear about that. Like, I'm done with it. Like, the Packers are 10-3. They're 10-3.
Right.
Last year, at the end of last year, when we were sitting 6-9-1, which was not nice. What if you would have told anybody that they're going to be 10-3 with 3 games to go and possibly get a first round bye? They're still alive for the freaking number 1 seed in the playoffs. They're still alive for that.
They control their own destiny to the number 2 seed, which guarantees them a bye and a home playoff game, meaning they only have to win 2 games to make it to the Super Bowl, and people are bitching. Kevin, when we talked about this team at the beginning of the year, we knew they weren't elite. Our hope was they were improved enough to be a playoff team. Now at 10-3, our hope is, hey, maybe they squeeze in and get that bye, and maybe maybe they catch fire and win a couple games. Like, is this so ridiculous? Like, why do people suddenly put like they straddle this team with like elite, like they have to be elite? No, they don't.
Yeah, the team has for the most part they've beaten the teams they're supposed to beat. They've won a couple of games that maybe they didn't necessarily weren't supposed to win. And all of a sudden, you're right. All of a sudden now that means that they're going to win their next 3 games. They're going to be 13-3. They're going to have to play, playoff games at home and then maybe, go on the road if they have to play for the Super Bowl. I like the fact that the team has, I've seen some other teams in the league, and while the Packers are good, I don't know if they can compete with the Ravens.
Well, but that's not even the point. I get you. I don't think you're wrong.
They could, but my point is that, like, let's just enjoy it for what it is, because you're never going to be, like, you can always compare something to something else and it's never going to be good enough. But why don't we compare it to last year's team, which, stunk.
Exactly. Right. So we acknowledged coming into this season that last year's team was terrible. And at 6-9-1, we would have, if someone said, I'll give you a 10-3 next year, if someone said, I'll give you a 10-6 next year, we would have snap called. We would have taken that in a heartbeat. When people say this team is 10-3, but they're not elite or they're terrible. Hey, Kevin's cat. It pisses me off, because what did you expect? We knew this team had its flaws. But again, James, as we've talked about, this team with Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Jones has a puncher's chance against anybody. So get into the playoffs, get that bye, so you have to play fewer games and see what happens.
Look, I watched for the last 24 months, and we've all watched this, everybody. For the last 24 months, we've sat here and watched our team suck. Like, and yes, 17, Rodgers was hurt. I get that. But for the last 2 years, they have been incredibly subpar. Like, they've been bad. And now here we are, almost double the amount of wins we had last year, over double the amount of the wins we had the year before. Here we are, and people have the freaking balls to complain about 10-3 because they're afraid of what might happen in the future. Now, yes. I don't care. I don't care about that. I care about what's happening this week. We got the Bears this week. Let's go beat the Bears. Then we'll worry about the Vikings. Then we'll worry about the Lions. Then we're in the playoffs. And then guess what? Anything can happen. I watched Aaron Rodgers dry hump Jared Abbrederis and Jeff Janis up the field in an NFC wild card game, and they almost won with those 2 wide receivers and no defense.
You have that dry humping thing? You have that on video? Oh, I'm sorry. You meant that figuratively.
I watched him drag these guys up and down the field with no and if it wasn't for Julius Peppers,
Jeff Janis is working at a UPS store right now, and he made Jeff Janis look like a goddamn all-pro, and we're worried about that's exactly.
I'm over it. People don't. They've played 13 games as a team, right? They're still learning. LaFleur and Rodgers are still like getting on. It's only been 13 games. Look back at Rodgers' first season as a starter with McCarthy. How good were they then? And he had better wide receivers then. So I don't want to hear about, oh my God, we can't hang with the Ravens, or we can't hang with the Saints or the 49ers. We can hang with anybody. Anybody. I believe it. And I'm telling you, people are going to be eating their words. It might be me. I don't know.
All right, let's talk about this actual game, since we've stalled enough complaining about people with their hot takes.
I just yelled on the podcast. It's the first time I've done that in a while.
Oh, I was very proud of you, James.
Sorry, guys.
This offense looked really good for about a quarter and then stalled. James, tell me why, or any ideas why, or make something up.
It was kind of a reminder of the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season, where the first 15 scripted plays were really, really good, and then The next drive or two after that were really, really good. And then once they got away from that and they had to and the floor had to kind of manage things on the fly, Aaron Jones was getting like 5.5 yards a carry. There was no reason to ever stop using him. And he did for a good portion of the second and third quarter. The defense I don't have no complaints about the defense other than that garbage time drive. They played really well. I've heard a lot of griping about Aaron Rodgers and missing receivers and et cetera and so forth. And it's just dumb. It's just lazy.
We're going to talk about Aaron Rodgers. Don't worry, because
Yeah.
I've got Aaron Rodgers theory, which might be a hot take. But Kevin, Aaron Jones, 16 carries for 134 yards. That's a whopping 8.4 yards per carry. I would call that above average.
A bit above average.
What do you think happened that stalled this offense, or what was different after the first quarter? Did you see anything?
So it's funny you should say that, because I did think that with about 10 minutes left in the second quarter, because the offense was humming up until then, with about 10 minutes left in the second quarter, Rodgers play actioned after a big Jones run, I think it was, play action to the corner to the 10-yard line with Jimmy Graham, and he missed him, and he overthrew him, and that was Legos that I just dropped.
I thought it was.
I thought someone was breaking into my house.
No, it was just Legos. I had them in my hand, and then I dropped them by accident. So when he missed Jimmy Graham, things seemed to stall after that. They ended up punting on that particular drive, and then they just didn't really get it going. I mean, I think the second half was worse than the first. I think that's also some sort of like kid song. But I mean, yeah, the first 20 minutes of the game was fine on off. I mean, they weren't on offense the whole time, but
so James, you brought up the people's theories about Aaron Rodgers when they're critiques, and I have an Aaron Rodgers theory.
I'm eager to hear it,
and I think it has played out a bit this year. I believe against subpar teams, Aaron Rodgers tries to throw the ball downfield way too much. I feel like after those first scripted plays, he believes he can get huge chunks of yards against teams like Washington. San Diego might be an example. And
San Diego.
Shots down. Oh, sorry. They're LA now. So he takes shots. That was an honest
I do it all the time.
So he takes those shots downfield and he abandons that short passing game that has been so effective, which then opens up the deep ball. And I think we saw him do that against Washington. And it's frustrating for me. But I think that's why against better teams, sometimes he plays better, because he sticks to that game plan, knowing that he can't get as much against, a better team. Am I crazy for that? Just don't say I'm crazy. Be like, no, you're kind of stupid, but.
No, I don't think you're crazy. I think there would be evidence to support that if any of us were willing to do the research, which we're not.
Nope.
I look. There's two missed throws that I hear people complaining about this week. The one was the one to Graham, which to me, any tight end that had any feet at all would have been there for that ball. That thing flew.
I've also got an idea. For those of you on video, you're going to get a treat, because I'm going to show you what Jimmy Graham had to do to make that catch. Okay, so here's Exhibit A. This is what Jimmy did. This is what Jimmy needed to do.
Let the record reflect that Chris is extending his arms in a manner in which the ball
alligator arms, Mr. Graham, or
at least he tried to use both arms this time.
Yeah. All right, hold on. I'm gonna take umbrage with something that Mr. Joe Thompson says in our chat. He says our record is better than we are. False. You are your record. There's no other way to achieve accomplishments in the NFL other than your record, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you think this team is better or worse than you. It doesn't matter. That's what we talked about at the beginning of the show. It's just about what you can do in the next game. So if they beat Washington by 1, if they beat the Bears by 1, if they beat Minnesota by 1, if they beat the Lions by 1, and then they beat their next 2 opponents by 1, guess what? They're in the Super Bowl.
Or Chris, I mean, like, you're absolutely right. You can't judge it based on anything other than what it is, right? So, like, if they lose, then you can look back and say, okay, well, maybe they overachieved a little bit early on in the season, right? But, like, we can't say that now because they haven't done that. They're they're winning. Like, what are we? Let's be happy. Let's enjoy. Let's open some bubbly.
If the Packers would have gotten off, if they'd have been like 8.
And I like you, John. I appreciate you watching our show live. But no, it doesn't matter what they've done in the last 13 games when they play San Francisco or New Orleans. It doesn't. What matters is how they play that day. That's the only thing that matters. Because guess what? It happens every year that a team that's terrible upends a good team near the end of the season and affects the seedings.
They should make a movie about that and make it title it something like on any Sunday or every Sunday.
I think you're mocking me now, Mr.
Any
James.
particular Sunday.
You have a cinematic mind. Any particular Sunday.
It would do better than the Playmobil movie.
What now?
The what now?
Yeah, exactly. The Playmobil movie. It did like historically bad at the box office. Yes, there was a Playmobil movie. It did like $42 at the box office.
Wow. It's all about execution, says Jake Helmbrecht, and I'm reminded of when I think it was Sam Weish said when he was asked about his team's execution, he said he was in favor of it. So
that's one of my favorite lines ever.
Guys, I think it's fair to say that you might be worried about the playoffs because you have a rookie head coach, right? Like I think that might be a fair statement. But to say that the team isn't as good as they've been,
right,
that doesn't.
All right, let's go to the defense, and I'm gonna Mr. Mills, Ben Mills Jr. in the chat says our defense sucks. I am going to take serious umbrage to that. And yes, this defense has its flaws, but James, this defense was not the problem on Sunday in any way, shape, or form.
No, it's not. So people think and say the defense sucks because they give up a crap ton of yards, and in 2 games out of the 11 that are out of the however many they played this year, 13, they've given up a bunch of points.
Right.
Meanwhile, we have 2 legitimate all pros playing outside linebacker. We have a Pro Bowl cornerback in Jair Alexander. We have the defense doesn't suck. I question some of Pettin's motives and what he's doing sometimes, but
I think his motives are true. maybe the way he tries to.
I believe I want to let them score.
But the talent is there, and you see it every single week. You got Zadarius and Preston Smith, and they're just eating up fools. You got Kenny Clark, who's really come on the last couple weeks. I wish we didn't have Blake Martinez back there lollygagging around, but I mean, what are you going to do?
What's that make him? A lollygagger. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how you have a problem with this defense when they gave. I'm trying to figure. For some reason, I can't find the number, the yards they gave up, but they gave up like nothing and 15 points, Kevin. And we're going to focus on the defense.
And also think about this too. There were 2 or 3 instances that could have easily been turnovers that went the Packers' way.
Mm-hmm.
That the ball bounced directly back into the Dan Snyder's hands on 2 occasions, and then the one was the catch and fumble that was overturned. So I mean that game, it was a win. It could have been by a lot more, but that doesn't really even matter that much. I mean that's kind of a moot point.
All right, so let's talk about on defense. What can this team do, or what does this team have to do to improve? Because they have tended to give up a lot of yards. But James, I contend that doesn't matter if you shut things down in the red zone. But where would you like to see improvement in the defense as we move toward the playoffs?
Yeah, you and I agree on that. Like I could not care any less if they give up infinity yards per game, as long as they score 1 more point than the other team. I don't care. And neither should you. Like I don't try to pretend to tell people what to care about, but you shouldn't care about that either.
Infinity might be a stretch.
I never understood why the measure of NFL defenses is yards allowed when it should be scoring defense. To me, is a much more important statistic.
Right, and takeaways, like we're something like +5 or +6 on the season in takeaways. Like last year, I think we were -712 in takeaways. Guesstimate. So I mean, they're not terrible. They're really not. And in order to make the defense better, We need to get a middle linebacker that can move and cover people and fill the correct gaps when he needs to, and not lead the league in tackles because he's tackling people 6 yards down the field. And I catch a lot of crap from people because of my anti-Blake Martinez stance, but I will not back down. I would like to see Jair Alexander actually start bringing some interceptions in. He plays really, really well. He's a really good cover cornerback, but no picks this year, I don't think. So,
and I agree with what Todd Pavlovsky says in the chat, which is stopping the run will be important down the stretch. Absolutely. Anytime the weather turns cold, anytime you move toward winter and playoff football, stopping the run is going to be important, especially against the teams that you might eventually play. Against the Bears, it's going to be important. Against Minnesota, it's going to be important. And in the playoffs, it's always important. So I agree with him there. And that's where somebody like Blake Martinez comes in. Like, stop. Don't let him get to the second level before you tackle him.
Just do something.
Blake, do something. Kevin, when it comes to this defense, again, I saw a lot of negativity about the defense this week, and I just didn't understand it. Is there a better free agent pickup or trade pickup than Zadarius Smith in this league? And I include a man that we're going to face this week, Khalil Mack. Is there a better pickup in the offseason when it comes to value and performance this year than Zadarius Smith?
I mean, how about his brother? I mean, just in general, the defense has been. I mean, every addition has really, for the most part, stuck. I'm trying to think of players that they've added that haven't really done anything, and I'm sure there are, but the defensive
Ryan Grant,
he hasn't been active yet.
The defensive additions have. I mean, I think they've been helpful. The Twitter fans might not agree, but we're 10-3 here, so
it's pretty much loved. But James, when it comes to looking at. Now, here's the thing. Look at Chicago, because we're going to talk about this game, but look at Chicago as an organization. They have – you do? Well, it's enjoyable. Trust me. So they've drafted Mitch Trubisky, who is pretty awful, right? He's pretty awful. And so what do you do? Well, you can't draft another quarterback next year. You know why, James?
Oh, I know why. Because they don't have a first-round pick.
But James, I'm sure they can fix that problem in 2021, right?
Not unless they trade back up to get a first-round pick.
And that's how an organization like the Chicago Bears can bone itself for years, because they're stuck with Mitch Trubisky unless, and here's my dream, dear football gods, as I sit here at this microphone tonight, please allow this to happen. Picture it. James, Kevin, picture it. Next year, it's after a Bears game in Hallis Hall, okay? And it's time for the press conference. And up to the microphone steps a gentleman in a bolero and culottes. It's your Bears quarterback, Cameron Newton.
I love the clothing description because that's so totally going to happen.
So this is a possibility. This is what the Bears are now stuck with thinking about doing, because they've handcuffed their organization for several years with the Khalil Mack trade and with trading up for Mitchell Trubisky. Kevin, they traded up one spot.
Kevin's speechless.
Mitch Trubisky, it kind of makes my head hurt when you talk about him.
All right, we have one more part about this past game that we need to talk about, and that part is special teams. James, we set 3 punt return records in this game for the season. Every punt was a record. Every punt return. That doesn't say much about the records that were achieved, but have we finally found a return man?
Yes. Compared to everybody else we've had this season, yes. The first punt where he returned the ball 9 yards, it was like watching my son walk for the first time. It was magical, and it was awe-inspiring, and it brought a tear to my eye.
Kevin, it was like you forgot that was even an option. Like on a punt, you could actually move the ball forward.
Yeah, and you don't have to get a penalty. That's also an option.
We've also got J.K. Scott. Looks like he's kind of back to where he needs to be. He's not the offensive weapon he was as a punter in the first half of the season, but he's also not the liability he was for that 4-game stretch where it looked like he was hitting everything with the wrong foot. But special teams look good, and we're going to need some net positive yards in the punt return game, as the winter comes in, and it's good to see that they're capable, I guess. I wasn't even sure if I didn't care who you put back there. Deion Sanders, I wasn't sure if they were capable.
Deion Sanders would have done a better job than anybody else up until now, for sure.
In a suit and alligator shoes.
Oh.
It's probably true. What else do we talk about in this game, James, Kevin, either of you? Anything left that we missed?
Boy, what a garbage franchise that team is. Anyway.
That's where you have to appreciate Brian Gutekunst, because when you've got an owner who's your general manager and who's also about 4'8", Dan Snyder, Kevin, has ruined that franchise for quite a few years.
It's crazy how you look across the league and you can see kind of some I don't want to say themes, but you can pick up some ways to ruin a franchise across the league. Let's put it that way.
And most of them are in the NFC East.
Ruining a franchise for dummies.
Oh, what a horrible division.
All right, let's say we've got a couple minutes. We're still going to go over, I'm sure, but there is so listen to me, those of you out there who believe the Packers aren't good enough, because this scenario could very well play out, right? The Packers win out. Possible, right? Maybe not probable, but possible. So they win out. If they win out, no matter what else happens in this league, they get the 2 seed. Okay. So now they've got a week off, which means, as Kevin has pointed out before, you only need to win 2 games and your ass is going to the Super Bowl. Okay. So now they could end up playing.
Beauty.
Let's say the Cowboys win the NFC East. Okay. They have a home game the first week, and somehow they defeat, what would it be? Maybe Seattle. Right? It just happens. It happens. Any given Sunday, any particular weekend, they beat them. Then those very same Dallas Cowboys travel to Lambeau Field and we beat them. And then we have one game probably on the road. But what happens if, could it be the Saints? The Saints could beat the
49ers.
And then now the Saints, who I would admit they're a better team, but now they got to come to Lambeau. And that's a little different. Now they're in Lambeau in January. They're not in a dome. And now we accidentally beat them too. And where does that put us, Kevin?
I lost track of where. I guess it's the Super Bowl at this point, huh?
Yeah. Super Bowl. So that can happen. And I feel like I just went on a rant, but I didn't mean to. But James, that's what I'm talking about. Just enjoy a win, for God's sake.
That was inspirational. And anybody who follows me on Twitter this week has seen. I've had people DM me to ask me if I'm okay, and yes, I'm fine. I'm good. But just I hate it. It's like people only watch the team to be pissed off. Like if they ever get really good to the point where they can't complain about anything, they'll just stop watching. Is what it feels like. And then there's hot take artists who. I think swear they want to be the first one to say that Aaron Rodgers is washed up so they can be like, I'm right. Well,
or the first one to say that Mike Pettin needs to be fired.
Right. And look what I said back 2 years ago. Shut up.
Or the same one to write an article that Mason Crosby should be cut. Those idiots.
Buy a Brett Hundley jersey.
Have it custom made because they didn't have them there.
Oh, God.
I just assume we are piling on. Sorry.
We are. All right. One quick question, and that's from Jake Hamburg, who says, why do you think Pettin hardly, if ever, uses Rashawn Gary? I understand the Smiths are playing exceptional, but he has looked good in his small amount of reps. I think he's looked good because he's had a small amount of reps. I feel like James, he's maybe not ready for prime time.
I think that they're doing the smart thing with him, and they're just letting him kind of learn from the masters, and then when it's his turn, and he'll be that much better.
I hope you're
kind of like Aaron Rodgers, sitting behind Brett Favre for all those years. Not that it's going to be to that degree, but plus he had that shoulder injury coming out of college, and I don't know how healed that is. Maybe they're just being careful with that too, throughout the season.
I hope you're right, because they have to hit. It has to hit. He has to be you can't flush a high draft pick.
No.
All right, we have some OG patrons that we have to recognize. Now, if you are wanting to help us out financially, you can go to patreon.com/TTSO. And for a small or large per episode donation, you become a patron. No matter what level you join us at, we're going to announce you on the first show you become a patron. If you are a Hall of Famer, or what we like to call our OGs, our highest donating and most beloved, then we'll talk about you every episode. Kevin, tell us about our OGs.
We have 6 of them, a sextet of OGs: Jason Hicks, Scott Neer, James Hamblin, Milo Meadsong, Chris Not Christofko or James Korsmo, and Jeff Augustine. Now, you can go to any public library in America, and this is 100% true. I would never lie to you about these facts, guys. Any library in America, use the Dewey Decimal System. You'll find 6 books about the wonderful world of museum science, all written by our patrons. And actually, I believe they're all ghostwritten by Rowan Atkinson, Mr. Bean. Those can be found, of course, in the Musology section by using the call numbers 069. So go ahead and do that next time you're in the library, and you'll find those books.
So thanks to all of our patrons. We got some questions in the chat. Hopefully we'll get to them after the break. But we appreciate all of our patrons. And if you want to do that, again, you can go to patreon.com/TTSO. All right. Now, when we come back, we're going to talk about the upcoming Bears game. We've got some voicemails. Well, we've got a voicemail. We got Papa K, and we'll talk about some of your questions that you have. If you have anything, drop by in the chat. We appreciate it. And hopefully we won't rant any longer. We'll be back right after. It's Chuck Woolery, 2 and 2. Did you know that you can help support our show financially without any additional cost to you? Well, if you use Amazon, and let's face it, who doesn't? You can go through our Amazon affiliate link, and we'll get a small portion of the proceeds. You pay nothing extra, and you still get your awesome stuff delivered in like 2 days. So go to www.titletownsoundoff.com/Amazon and just order like you normally would, and you help the show. That's www.titletownsoundoff.com/Amazon. Happy shopping.
If you would like to support the show and help others find it, give us a review and a rating. Go to Apple Podcasts and write something nice and give us 5 stars. Thanks.
Welcome back. Episode 222. I can't believe we got this far, actually. Before we get to the game that is upcoming, before we get to the Bears game, we have some lovely Hall of Fame patrons we need to mention as well. James,
yes,
those amazing people.
We sure do. So we have Paul Goldsack, Kyle Turpening, Nick, not John Glenn. He almost got there, but he had a slight regression.
It's like Chutes and Ladders.
Yes. DJ Lightfoot and Will Zine Savage, who it looks like just purchased a home. So congratulations to you, Will. Now you might not know this about all these patrons. They just recently, all of them opened up a library. They opened one up. Exclusively. I know this is going to blow your mind. All they loan out are Guy Fieri cookbooks,
Ooh.
which
So
there are several of them.
welcome to Flavortown. Population
Guy.
U.
I love Guy Fieri.
I'm not gonna lie, I do too. He gets a bad rap, but I mean, he loves flavor. Like, I'm talking about something that is not on our agenda this evening.
We should have a Guy Fieri podcast.
I'll frost my tips. My hair.
Episode title.
Sorry, I'll frost my tips. All right. So let's talk about something that has been gaining steam and is brought up by Dustin Caldwell in our chat. What do you guys think about OBJ leaving the Browns, possibly coming to the Packers? Now, from what I understand, this cannot happen this year. The Browns would have to cut him, then the Packers. I don't know if he's a vested veteran, but that anyway. What do you think about the Packers acquiring OBJ? I see all these people saying, he's asked out of 2 teams in 2 or 3 years. Kevin, what's your opinion?
Man, I don't think. I feel like you're playing with fire. It seems like a risky move, especially because he didn't really light things up when he did play this year, right? Like he wasn't like especially good.
Yeah, but he was playing with Baker Mayfield, who's,
yeah, but when you put that much stock in somebody, you'd hope that they make everybody around them better and not just kind of sink into the background. Right.
James, what's your opinion on OBJ to the Packers?
Historically, I have always been anti bringing in potential head cases to the team. But in this case, he's nuts, but I want him. I do. I can't deny it. The thought of OBJ on one side and Devontae Adams on the other with Lazard and Jay Sternberger running up the middle. I almost knocked my laptop off the table. That's not true.
Jimmy Graham can alligator arms it.
I want it to happen.
I do too, and I think Devontae Adams even said today on Twitter, like, "Let's make your face mask green." I think he meant get you on the team, although maybe that I don't know. But head cases, I agree. I'm normally not in favor of head cases on the team, like Antonio Brown, but he's a different type of head case. Like OBJ wants the ball and he wants to be front and center and he wants attention, but I think he's the right kind of arrogant as a receiver. It's not like when Antonio Brown went crazy and started wearing hand-painted helmets to practice. This is a different crazy.
Pumpkins with like fake strings in the front.
This is a different kind of crazy. And I also think when Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback, you're going to be a little more humble. Like, how do you tell Aaron Rodgers he's not getting you the ball enough? Baker Mayfield, I'd tell him he's not getting me the ball enough because he's Baker Mayfield. He's got a homeless man that woke up in the stadium that morning. But, for OBJ, I would do it. I would do it.
OBJ is crazy, but he's crazy, I think, because
like
he wants because he wants to win. He's mad. He's mad that his team has sucked his whole entire career.
He bought the same goods that everybody else did about the Browns, that they were going to be, somehow amazing this year, and they weren't. They're wretched.
Right. I mean, he punched a hole in the wall in the locker room at Lambeau Field because they lost. He he asked out of New York because they had no hope of winning ever again. It's not like he's asking out of these teams because he just wants to be an a-hole. He doesn't care if he's an a-hole because he wants to win, and I want that on my team.
I do too. All right, Kevin.
But at what point is he partially responsible for winning, though? Because he wanted out of New York and he got out to
when he's dropping passes, when he's running routes wrong, when he's not playing his position well. But there's no evidence that that's the case.
I mean, right? Okay, that's fair. But I don't know. Great players elevate the players around them, and their offense stinks. It's worse this year than it was last year with him than they didn't have him last year. I don't know. What do I know? I don't even play Madden anymore, so what do I know?
In 1996, the Packers went out and got another head case named Andre Rison, and they ended up winning the Super Bowl. So, and not because of Andre Rison necessarily, but he was on the team.
Also, and I don't remember what year it was, but when they picked up Charles Woodson, he had the reputation of being a bit of a head case. So they also at one point picked up Najee Davenport, who was a head case and pooped in someone's hand. All right, let's talk about. Speaking of poop, let's talk about the Bears, our upcoming opponent. That is what you call a transition. Are the Bears an improved team? I keep seeing everyone afraid of the Bears and that they look so much better. Are they any better? Are they? Is this team now? Not to say that they're not something to be concerned about, but James, has this team improved that much?
I mean, they've won the last, I think, 3 games or something. They're playing decent football right now, against bad teams. So we'll see how they fare here. Trubisky is Trubisky at this point. We know who he is. You need to make him throw to the left of the field and make him beat and not let him beat you with his feet. If you can do that and you can keep their running game in check, you're doing okay. And their defense is, it's good. It's real good, but it's not unbeatable. Obviously, they've lost 7 games this year, or 6 games. So, they're a beatable team. They're not. I'm not saying it's a shoe-in, and I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but it's not. It's not like oh my God, here come the Bears.
Kevin, Dustin Caldwell's analysis is the Bears still suck. Agree or disagree?
I agree. No, I'd agree with that sentiment. Although I do think that this game is a little bit scary because it's a division game. Those are always tight. And the Packers offense is going to need to sustain some drives and score some points. And that's tough to do against the Bears. And if the Packers defense is on the field the entire game, then it could be trouble. So hopefully the offense just clicks for a little bit longer, a little bit more consistent this week than it was last week.
I would not be surprised to see a team or see a score similar to last week's score, right? A 20-15 type of game. That wouldn't surprise me at all, especially considering, how good the Bears defense is and how bad the offense is, right? So if you look at their rankings in the league, they're 26th in points, 29th in yards, 28th in passing yards, and 29th in rushing yards. This is a bad offensive team. But on the same token, if you look at their defense, they're at the top of the league pretty much everywhere. 4th in points, 10th in yards, 13th in passing yards, and 7th in rushing yards. So I would not be. So again, if this game ends up being one of those slow, 21-15 games, 21-13 games, it's not time to sound the alarm. That's exactly, James, what should happen this week.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't expect anything more than that. Really, it's going to be really tough for Aaron Jones or any running game for the Packers really to get going. The Bears running rush defense is really, really good, and they're going to really need to focus on keeping the pocket clean for Rodgers because the Bears at this point don't have anything to lose. And they know the rivalry. They're going to be coming after Rodgers and
still technically in the playoff hunt.
Yep. So the Packers need to be careful with this one. They really take it seriously, not looking towards the Vikings next week, but go out and actually, play 60 minutes of good football to beat the Bears. Cause they're 7-6, but they're not terrible.
No, they're not. And that's why it's so key that the way this schedule shook out, Kevin, that we get the home game late in the season. How important is that now, especially after stealing one at Soldier Field early in the year? Well, at the beginning of the year.
Right, exactly, with the Thursday night game at the beginning of the year. And yeah, that was kind of a best case scenario, like we talked about in the beginning of the season. So yeah, getting a chance to play them at home now is kind of one of those opportunities. You don't want to squander the opportunity, especially when you control your own destiny. And if you win, you're going to have a home playoff game.
Right.
That's the bottom line.
So remember the scenarios. If the Packers win one more game, they're in the playoffs. Well, first of all, if they lose all 3, they're still likely in the playoffs, the way that the math shakes out. Okay. If they win one more game, they don't technically clinch unless a bunch of things happen. But it would be a shock if they get to 11 wins and don't get into the playoffs. It would be almost impossible. right? If they win 2 more games, they win the division. It does not matter who they win those games against. So if they beat the Bears and then they beat the Lions, but they lose in the that middle game to the Vikings, they still have the tiebreaker on the Vikings, and they're still going to be the division winner. If they win out, they are now the 2nd seed, at least, possibly the 1st seed, but they're at least the 2nd seed, and they're guaranteed not only a bye, but then a home playoff game. Those scenarios are all really, really good right now. I'd like to see them win out, James. I think that's their path. I think that's the way this team, first of all, it means they're getting a little bit hot. Second of all, I think they need that bye, and they need the home game.
Yeah, I mean, playoff buys scare me a little bit. I mean, the last time they had a playoff bye, things didn't go so well for them, and that was in 2011 against the Giants, where they just crapped the bed. But and they didn't do so well coming off the bye in regular season this year. So buys scare me a little bit, but I want the home games, man. I want dome teams. I want warm teams coming up here, and I want them to win out too. I honestly, I'm going to be totally honest. I don't think they do. I think they got 1 loss on them at least. But I would love it if they won out. That'd be best case.
All right, we let's see. We've got here's a question that you want to talk about today is are the Bears your most hated opponent? Kevin, of all the Packers opponents, are the Bears, and I know it's the traditional rivalry, this is the 200th game. Are the Bears your most hated opponent?
Man, I wish they were better. You know what I mean? Like, I wish that the rivalry didn't. I just feel like it's been pretty lopsided recently. Yes, when the rivalry is good, it's good, right? Like, yeah. I mean, there was a time when the Vikings, when they had Favre, that it was real, a little tense. There was a time when never mind. No, I mean, it's funny because like the Lions, you want to say there was a time, like Barry Sanders, but like they just all retired. They're like, screw this, I'm out of here. That sucks.
James, are the Bears your most hated rival?
The Bears barely cracked the top 5.
I'm with you.
I actually have a healthy amount of respect for the Bears, based on the rivalry and how even it's been throughout the years, and the fact they've actually won. Yes, it was an 85 before all the good things in the world happened, except for us. But no, the Bears. So for me, it goes number 1, Minnesota. I think everybody who listens and reads my Twitter and knows me knows Minnesota is just. I freaking hate them. Oh my God, do I hate the Vikings? Number 2 for me, all right. See, even saying their name. Number 2 for me is Seattle.
I do it. Yep. Okay.
Yep. Number 3 for me is Dallas.
Okay.
Number 4 for me, and we don't play them very often.
Okay.
But New England.
Okay, I think that's a stretch because of the lack. Yeah, because we don't play very often. But I can see that.
And then the Bears.
Okay, and I see. I feel the same way. Like I respect the Bears organization, so I have a tough time hating them. But I hate the Vikings.
Here's why I hate the Bears.
Okay,
because when I always feel like, and I mean the Vikings are this too. It's because it's a division game, right? Like. I always feel like just when you should get a win, you get hit with a loss. Just when you should get going, you get stymied. Okay. It always feels like that is like a thorn in your side, and it's partially just because of division. I understand that. So,
and Michael in the chat, he says New England over the Bears. LMAO. What? We're talking about hated. It doesn't mean that you like the Bears. It just means like there are repugnant organizations out there. Like
let me explain myself on that one.
Yeah.
It's not even New England, the team itself, I guess. It's their fans. Because every time the Packers played the Patriots, all we hear for weeks ahead of time and weeks afterwards is how the Brady. Look, they just got caught cheating again this week.
I remind you, Brady is a system quarterback. The only reason Brady is a Hall of Famer is because he's playing with, I know this is sacrilege, the greatest coach to ever coach this game. So Brady, system quarterback, old man, looks like crap. Hashtag Tom Brady.
This has been paid for by people against Tom Brady.
All right. Let's get to our next segment. And this is, again, it's a new segment, a favorite segment, a segment we've been sued over, but here we go.
69, dudes!
Nice.
69!
Nice.
It is the David Bakhtiari 69 of the week, where we bring you statistics statistics that add up to 69. That's pretty much it. Now, this week, again, not a natural. We have no naturals on the board. I looked. I can't wait. Someday we will have a natural. But this week, I had to feature punt return yards because we had them. So if you add the punt return yards, 51, to completed passes, 18, gentlemen, what do you get?
69,
Dude.
Nice. All right. We have our voicemail. I want to thank everybody who calls in. I guess for this week, I just want to thank Gabe because we had one voicemail.
Aww.
I want to remind you that you are all able to call 920-445-TTSO. That's 920-445-TTSO. And you too can be like Gabe.
Hey y'all, it's Gabe here, calling after the Packers defeated the Dan Snyders 20-15. And I have to say, I mean, it was a very interesting game, though. I mean, started off strong, but then at the end, the thing that kind of got me was that they started playing soft, and of course, they started catching up. But hey, well, I won't complain about it because a win is a win, and I'm glad to be 10-3, and we pretty much control our own destiny from here. So I'm pretty excited. So anyway, well, now on to those damn Bears. So anyway, that's all I have for tonight. Good night. God bless. And go Pack, go.
If you can't hear the excitement in his voice
Palpable.
and feel the excitement in the air, then are you even alive? There was a guy listening to this podcast. His heart went into like AFib or whatever you could, and listening to that excitement brought him right back. Boom! It was like a shot to the system. So thank you, Gabe. You saved a life tonight, and you brought it, and that's all I could ask for. Love you, Gabe. We miss your left blinker too. All right. Papa K called in this week, and he has some takes on this offense, and I think it's going to maybe spur some conversation. Here's Papa K.
Hi, this is Bill Christofko calling after the Packers' 20-15 win over the Washington Daniel Snyders yesterday. On the one hand, we're really pleased that the Packers are 10-3 and now have the number 2 seed in the NFC, which would bring with it a first-round bye, in addition to at least one home game. So we're very pleased with that. On the other hand, this offense is very worrisome. It just doesn't seem in sync at all. Two things that I wonder about. Number one, where is the short passing game? The rhythm, quick passing game that we used to see from this offense, at least the offense of a couple years ago. Is it that Rodgers doesn't trust MVS and Geronimo Allison and the tight ends and just won't throw to them? Or is it because they don't get open? Why so many deep passes that just seem to fall incomplete? Where is the short passing game? Unless the Packers come up with a short passing game, I don't know what the future holds for this offense. It just doesn't seem to have much rhyme or reason at times. After the 2 touchdowns in the first 2 possessions yesterday, it just seemed to go into a blob, just a lot of nothing, and that's worrisome. Secondly, I don't understand why Robert Tonyan isn't more involved in the offense. Nothing against Jimmy Graham, but he can't run anymore. And we saw the one long pass that fell incomplete. Graham was overthrown, but you wonder if a man with a little bit more speed might have caught that. That might have been a touchdown. I wonder where Sternberger is also. Why aren't these guys more incorporated into the offense? But I'm especially concerned about the short passing game. Where is that? Even Devontae Adams wasn't targeted until the middle of the second quarter and only had 4 receptions for 41 yards. It seems if it's an Aaron Jones game, it's almost totally an Aaron Jones game. If it's not an Aaron Jones game, then it seems like he's not used much at all. This offense is worrisome to me right now. But the Packers are 10-3. The Bear game is a critical game. The Bears are improved. Mitch Trubisky is no longer a bum, and he will score points against the Packers. The Packers are going to need to be able to score against the Bears on Sunday. Thanks for listening. Good night.
So when we talk about the offense, and there's I was looking at the play percentages, like the amount of time that each player plays, and especially in the offense, I found it odd that Geronimo Allison got more plays than Alan Lazard. And I think it was like 1 more play. But that surprises me that he's getting more time on the field than Lazard after what Lazard has shown.
Well, hold on a second, real quick. Who's a better blocker?
No, I mean, they're not blocking a wide receiver, though.
No, I mean, wide receivers block.
Yeah, but that's not – I don't think that's –
but on a running play, you would want the better blocker out there to block, so he's going to get more plays.
That's not why he's getting more plays.
I'm just offering a suggestion. You asked for a suggestion. I'm offering one. So
okay, but if that's the reason, that's the reason. That's a terrible reason because they need to get Lazard. I feel like maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like they need to get Lazard on the field more. Mercedes Lewis. Now that's where, I understand why he's on the field more than Lazard because he is in there kind of as that 6th lineman and then as a tight end option.
As a better blocker. Interesting. Funny how that works.
But Jimmy Graham, 52% of plays on or playing time on the offense, and Tonyan only 32%.
In fairness to Jimmy Graham, most of the time he just can't get off the field. Just keep him out there. We don't have time.
There's only 40 seconds between plays.
They have a little chaise lounge that they keep out there for him to sit down on.
I just wonder what and so then we look down to do you know Valdez Scantling is MVS is only 17% of plays of play time. Only 17%. When the fullback is getting more playing time than you are, that's a problem. I feel like they've almost given up on him.
We've MVS is starting to reach Jamon Moore status here, very rapidly. He's getting there, and I don't know why. I don't know if he's just not getting open or what the deal is. But can I? So Papa K mentioned something, about a lot of incomplete passes. And so it got me thinking, and I looked at, I did some research, which I'm sorry, I apologize, but for his career, Aaron Rodgers has a completion percentage of 64.8%. For this season, his completion percentage is 64.4%. So we're not seeing anything that's ridiculously off of his career average. So I don't think he's doing a whole lot differently than he always has. But I agree with Papa K that short passing game needs to come back because that's desperately missing.
We know the Bears are gonna key on Aaron Jones. That's gonna be their game plan is to stop Aaron Jones. But they're also gonna get to the quarterback. You just gotta watch. This is a dangerous game. This Bears team is not a bad team. They're not a great team by any stretch. And they're off. And the only good thing I think about playing the Bears, Kevin, is even if their defense performs really well, there's a margin for error because that offense is so impotent.
You just have to make sure you don't turn the ball over. And that's tough to do. I mean, that's one of the reasons why the Bears win some games with a bad offense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you protect the ball and can move it a little bit, and field position's important too. But but as long as you can be a little bit more consistent, I think that's the key. It's just consistency, putting drives together and scoring points more consistently.
All right, let's get to our games because we're already at the hour mark, and it's time. Remember, if you are a patron at the OG level, you get to play our games with us as well, and usually you'll beat Kevin because he's terrible.
True or false, true or false, true or false, true or false. It's time to play true or false.
That was a really good theme song. I think we should probably make that like 2 or 3 more verses, maybe. I'll write something. We can. We'll get an orchestra.
It's like the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
All right, so guys, last week, the true or false was abysmal as a group. Overall, 20% accuracy.
Oh,
the best all week was 2 correct answers. That was the best. Everybody else got 1, and we had a 0. Unfortunately, we had a 0 this week.
Remind.
I'm not going to reveal. I'm not going to reveal the player who had the 0.
Shame them.
But let's just say Kyle T. No, that's too obvious. K. Turpinning did not have a great week.
He was in first place, wasn't he?
He was, and you know what? He's still in first place because everybody else. Everybody else only had 1. So yeah,
they can only pick up 1.2 points on him.
Right, exactly.
Oh wait, James Hamlin did not respond in time, but actually probably benefited him.
That's kind of the way this game works. Yeah, no rhyme or reason really.
Kevin says them out.
Okay, so here's the one question that I wanted to talk about from last week.
Okay.
Because I nailed it, right? So question 3 was true or false. The Packers will hold their week 14 opponent to either less than 262 yards or less than 14.4 points. The Redskins had exactly 262 yards.
Wow.
So that was pretty good.
That was a beauty question.
Everybody got that one wrong. Okay, let's see. All right, goodness. Okay, so now we're on week 15, right? This is week 15.
That's how it works.
All right, cool. So then let's do week 15, question number 1. Chris, let's start with you because you are probably the sexiest right now. The Bears offense is not very good. They average just 204.4 pass yards and 84.8 rushing yards per game. True or false, the Packers will hold the Bears to under 205 passing yards or under 85 rushing yards. So will they hold them under their average for either rushing or passing?
I'm going to say false. I think it'd be a big, much over, but a little bit.
Yeah, James, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be false too. Either they just give up yardage, so false.
Yeah. Got my true false hat on now.
Question number 2, James.
Hats are the best. Yes.
For as bad as their offense is at scoring points, the Bears' defense is just as good at preventing them from being scored. See what I did there?
I did.
The Bears average just 17.8 points allowed per game. The Packers are scoring about 24 points per game. True or false? The Packers will score at least 21 points against the Bears.
Oh, false.
Ooh.
Correct. What do you think?
I'm going to say true because I am a stupid optimist.
I'm going to say false because I haven't answered a question out of the last 7 questions I've asked. So I just need to say something. So false. There. Question number 3, Chris. The Bears are allowing an average of 96.3 rushing yards per game. The Packers average 107 rush yards per game. True or false? The Packers will rush for at least 100 yards against the Bears.
As a team?
As a team, yes.
That is true. Undoubtedly true.
James?
Narrator.
They better if they want to win.
Yeah.
So I'll say true.
All right, I'm going to say true too because I think Aaron Rodgers is going to scramble from the 1-yard line and he's going to go 99 yards for a touchdown. Oh, his own 1-yard line.
Oh my God. My pants would be off forever if that happened.
There would be a run on trousers if that happened.
Be something on my trousers if that happened.
If that happened,
Yep.
What's that?
you're not looking at this. Got a foam boner, in case you're wondering. Anyway,
All right. Question number 4.
foam boner.
Foamer. Question number 4, Chris. After many terrible fourth down play calls, the Packers offense seems to be a little bit more sure of themselves on fourth down conversion attempts. True or false? The Packers will convert a fourth down opportunity at home against the Bears.
I'm going to go with the percentages and say false because they may not have a fourth down opportunity that they need to convert. False.
James, what do you think?
I'm going to say true because I think they're going to have to in order to scrounge around and scrape up a win.
I agree. I'm going to say true because I think that they're going to. I think that they're going to have to do it. And question number 5, Chris. J.K. Scott punted 9 times in Week 1.
9 times.
9 times in Week 1. He's averaging 4.6 punts per game. True or false? J.K. Scott will punt the ball at least 5 times this week against the Bears.
God, I can't stop being stupidly optimistic. I'm going to say false, and I know I'm wrong.
James?
Yeah, you're wrong. True.
I'm going to say true, too. I think he's hopefully not 9, but I think it'll be.
All right, you guys pick up a point of me. All right. So, that's it for true or false, right?
That is.
True or false is now over.
All right, the last game we're going to play on this show and every show is the appropriately named Spread 'em.
Go on ahead and spread them.
The longest intro in podcasting. Kevin, what's the spread?
The Packers are favored by 5 points. Packers -5. And also, I almost put on my spread 'em hat, but I was told it's not appropriate for the live broadcast.
I'm going to foolishly say the Packers cover. I know where James is going, but I think what happens is the more of these that I have, that's a beer, the more optimistic I get. And by the end of the podcast, I think the Packers are going to win by 30.
How many beers did you have when you predicted 13-3? Because you should do that more often.
I actually had 0. I was stone cold sober that night. I was just stupid, but I might be wrong.
That's crazy to me. No, look. You all know my strategy. Always bet against the Packers. So I'm gonna go Bears.
All right, Kevin.
I think the Packers are going to win, but I'm going to take the Bears.
All right, so you think the Packers win, but the Bears cover?
I think it's going to be a very close game.
All right. It's time to get out of here. Thanks to all you guys who joined us in the chat. We had good numbers tonight. A lot of people in the live chat watching the live stream. A lot of people participating I said chat like 14 times, but in the chat, and we appreciate that. Those of you who are listening as an audio podcast, remember we can be found on Facebook and on YouTube as well. You can catch us live on Facebook or later the recorded version on YouTube. If you're watching us on Facebook or on YouTube, you can catch us as a podcast wherever fine podcasts are served. Kevin, before we get out of here, what do you got? Anything?
We are still no, I don't have anything for you. I decided not to say that joke because that would have been bad. So go ahead.
All right, fair enough. Usually a good decision when Kevin turns back from a joke. James, before we get out of here, what do you got to say?
If you have made it 71 minutes, holy crap. 71 minutes into this thing, God bless you. You are up for sainthood. And tweet us the word corpulence.
What is that?
It's like the city, Corpulence Christi, right? In Texas.
Right. That's
corpulence. Right. Corpulence is, I believe, another word for fat.
PH, though. PH.
And also for a bonus, throw in #FlavorTown, if you would.
I love Guy Fieri.
Thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it. We'll be back next week when your 11-3 Green Bay Packers will be have clinched a playoff spot, hopefully, and be ready to crush the Vikings. Optimism. Hashtag optimism. The preceding podcast was a production of Productions Institute, LLC. Copyright 2019. All rights reserved. Don't steal our crap.